Hey, this is Michelle, and I am back doing another You, Me, Same 3 collab with Tiffany, Southern Gals Designs. And what we do is we take turns sending each other 3 items. This month was Tiffany's turn, and we each used the same 3 items that she sent me. And it looks like she sent me, I believe that's a gift bag with like old advertisements and a piece of flour sack with some color on it, and then a piece of drywall tape. And so I'm just trying to figure out if I'm going to use craft paper or just regular cardstock. Anyhow, right away I noticed this ad. It looks like some man's looking for a woman. But anyhow, I'll show a freeze frame of exactly what it says in a minute. But so it got me thinking. I have my pictures kind of sorted, all these old photos, and I have some pictures there. That's where it says it. Wanted steady woman, a thorough good cook, and I can't read the rest of it, but it kind of cracked me up. But I have pictures of just ladies together, and I thought it would kind of be funny to make like these ladies are trying out for this position, to be this man's steady woman who's a thorough good cook. Just kind of cracked me up. But these ladies made me laugh because they're all making a silly face, and it's a really old picture, so it just kind of cracked me up because typically people in really old pictures have very stern faces. So I definitely knew I wanted that picture. So I have those kind of together. And then I just grabbed some random bits of ephemera. But first I took some of my favorite gesso, and I'm just using, this is, I believe it's an oven liner. I use them for craft mats, and then when they get old, I cut them into pieces that I can use. So I'm just using a little bit of that, and I'm mixing it with some golden Quinacridone nickel azo gold. These are the fluids, so I'm just putting a little bit in there just to kind of darken the gesso just a little bit. So I'm just kind of putting it on the page just to kind of give a little bit of, just to put a little bit of color down. And I noticed in the flour sack there was like a rusty color that reminded me of the nickel azo gold, and so I thought I would bring that muted a little bit in there. And then I decided to take some modeling paste and use it through, it's like a piece of mesh. Someone sent it to me, and I'm not sure who it was, but thank you. It's really cool. So I just decided to use some of the modeling paste through that. And then I also wanted to kind of just smooth out the edges so there wasn't such a harsh edge. And then I took some modeling paste and just kind of laid it down just here and there, different places. I knew all my ephemera was going to go in the center, so I kind of kept away from there. But then I just pressed the drywall tape into it just to kind of pick up the pattern of the circles. I like to use modeling paste through a stencil, and then I also like to press into the modeling paste as well. And then I'm just going to dry it. And this is Heidi Swapp Color Shine in Peach. And I just kind of splatted some little bits here and there. And then I wanted it to kind of move around the page a little bit, so I hit those little spots with water. I kind of wanted it to fall into the recesses of where the modeling paste was. And while I like the color, I like that subtle color, it just wasn't going into the grooves as much as I wanted. So I dried that, and then I'm just going to take some of the nickel azo gold by itself and water it down a little bit and put that on. And I'm just adding it. It's really, really watered down, just because I didn't want it to be super harsh. I just wanted it to kind of bring out the colors in the page. I love it. It kind of looks like rust. That's why I really like that color. And then I wanted to add more, just a little more contrast. And I just dried that really well. And here's my picture of my crazy girls. And this is just a coffee filter that has some, it has some coffee and gesso on it, and just some old letters. And I just like to peel the edges, rip the edges off. And then that is a piece of like an old date book. And I'm just going to use the Uhu Glue Stick to adhere those pieces down. And the year is 1992, and I kind of scribble it out at the end because it didn't really match my ad or my ladies, who are definitely not from the 90s. Well, not the 1990s anyhow. So I'm just deciding kind of how I'm going to lay the pieces down. And then there's my ad that I need to just cut the edge off, just to trim it up so it's just the ad. And then I find that piece of, I believe it's flour sack or cheese, I think it's flour sack, it's thicker. So I'm going to adhere the filter down, and I kind of wish I'd used a little more of the blue bit of the flour sack, but I didn't. I found this in my stash. I have some really coffee dyed, it's a file folder. So I just ripped a piece of that off and then layered on top of it the little piece of flour cloth and ran it through my sewing machine just a few times and left all the thread. I like the loose thread sometimes more than others. So basically, I'm just going to add some finishing touches to the page, but I made a little bit of a mistake. I adhered that on first, and then I peeled it back, and then you'll see I sat it on top of the glue, and I got a little bit of glue on the girl, but that's okay. You can't tell. Just at the up close you can, but she doesn't care. So that's kind of my layout. I'm going to move her up a little bit. So then I just need to adhere down my little ad, and I pretty much have the layout done. I do tuck in the threads so they're not all over the place as much. But I did want to add some little marks, and so I just grabbed a mechanical pencil, and just made a few little marks, circled some of the circles, and then some lines. It kind of reminds me of barbed wire, and I kind of explained what that was in another video, but it reminds me of my dad. So I love the teal color on the flour sacks cloth, so I did decide I wanted to add that, make sure I got some of that color in. It adds a nice contrast to all the bland colors. So I'm just ripping this, starting it and cutting it, and then just using my tiny attacher to staple 3 little pieces of it on the edge. And then I decided to take a small piece of the drywall tape and add that as well. But I thought it needed some of this turquoise golden fluid paint. I thought it needed a little bit of the turquoise just to kind of match in with the flour sack cloth up above. So I am just going to wet that down a little bit and then add just a couple splatters here and there. I kind of wish I'd added a little bit more, but that's okay. So this has adhesive backing on it, so you just have to peel the back off and then you can lay it wherever you want. But that was glued down, so I just pulled it up a little bit. And then I didn't like how those looked kind of perfect. I wanted them to be a little rattier, so I cut the edges off and frayed it a little bit more. And then because you just can't leave any little piece lying about, I had to take that tiny piece that I cut off and add that little bit too. Well, I'll do that in a minute, but here's where I cross out the 1992. And then add some scribbles elsewhere too to make it look like it was on purpose, right? And now I'm going to take that little piece because, you know, you can't waste even the tiniest of scraps of material or paper. So here is my page, and I hope you go next and check out Tiffany's, and would love it if you subscribed and gave us a comment and a like. Thanks so much for hanging out. Bye.